Hi, this is us doing the second video in the Car Hire series. This one is going to look at the main window code. So, as I said in the first video, full code solution is available on Moodle in this folder called Car Hire Example Solution. So please download it and you can even do it along with me doing the video. So let's have a wee look at the first window. So remember, the first window is the ability for the user to select a car. So this is design, very simple. I'm not going to talk through the design, more focused on the C#. I've got a text block asking them to pick a car from the list, and then this is a list box. Just to prove, there's my list box with my properties, and it's called list cars, and there's a continue button. So I've got two actions in this window that need to be handled. One for when the user clicks on an item, and one for when the user clicks on a button. So I need a minimum of 2 event handlers. So let's now go and look at the code behind the file for the main window. Scroll up to the top. So as usual, guys, we've got the usual setup, all the libraries, everything's inside the same big drawer, the same big namespace called Car Hire. So within that, we have got our own separate container for the main window. Remember, that's a special container called a class. So everything to do with main window is in this class. First thing I do at the top of the class is I set up a list of the car names. So I've stored these names because there's 7 different car names. So rather than having 7 separate strings, anytime we've got data of the same type that's a collection, we can store them in an array. So we're using a string array, as you can see here, set up a string array called car names, and the 7 values are displayed there, so the 7 strings. Separate to this, I've also set up an array with the prices that match these car names. Now you'll notice that the prices are stored in the same index as the name. So for instance, the first item in the car names array is Toyota IQ. The first item in the car price array is 10, which is the cost of Toyota. Second price is 18, which is the second car, which is Mini. Third price is 15, which is the third car, which is Polo, etc. So effectively, they're stored in parallel, although they're in separate arrays. So if I access index 1, remember index 0, index 1, then I would get Mini Cooper, and if I access index 1 of this array, I would get the value for Mini Cooper. So it's a parallel type storage. The car price, I know we're dealing with whole numbers, but we should really be using floats because we should have pounds and pence, so I've stored it as a float. The next variable set up is an index. That's really just to keep track of what item the user stored. So they're going to pick an item from the list, and I'm going to ask the list box the index of the item that has been selected. Remember that list boxes are indexed like arrays. So the data items in the list box go from top to bottom. Top items index 0 and so on, all the way down, just like an array. So initializing this to -1, because -1 is not a valid index. The first valid index in an array is 0. Okay, that's the data set up. So list of cars, list of prices. Now we go and look at the constructor. Remember, the constructor is that special method that has the same name as the class. So there's a class and the constructor, both called main window. This is the only method that runs when the window loads. Hence the reason why it has initialized component in it. That's the special method that comes from the library that basically goes and builds the window. So it looks at our design in the XAML code, and it puts the list box on the page, and it puts the button on the page. So we can make use of this method by getting it to do extra stuff when it starts. So not only are we going to get it to build the window, we're also going to get it to populate the list box. Because if we go back to the design, this is how it looks. The list box is empty, but when we want the user to load the window, we want them to see the code. So that's what we've got in here. So this is the for loop that goes through the car names array, and it goes from index 0 all the way up to the length of the array, and it takes each item out of the car names array and the car price array and puts them into the list box. So let's just clarify this a bit more. Each time round the loop, it goes and adds one item to the list. box. That item is a combination of whatever item is next in the car names array plus the next item in the car price array. So the first time round, I has a value 0. So it'll go to car names at value I, the index 0. So if we go up to here, it's going to go into index 0, and it's going to grab Toyota IQ. Then it's going to add on to that a pound sign. So we're going to display the name and the price. It's going to add on to that a pound sign, and also it's going to go to the car price array at the same index and grab the price. So it's going to be Toyota IQ pound sign 10. And that whole string, that whole thing, will be added as one item to the list box. Hopefully that's clear for everyone. So that explains what happens in startup. Just to demonstrate, I'll quickly run the application, and you'll notice that when it runs, oh, it's went over in my other window, bring it over, you'll see there's all of the items populated. So as I said, gets the string out of the names array, puts in a hyphen and a pound sign, and then the price out of the price array. Okay, we'll just stop that now. So let's look at what happens when the user picks an item from the list box. So when they pick an item from the list box, we're going to find out which item they've picked. We're going to ask for the index of that item. So we're going to say, hey list box, what index has been selected? We're then going to use that index, we're going to store it, and we're going to use it to look up the details of what car they've picked in our local arrays. So we'll use the index to again go back to the car names array. So it'll go back in here and it will find whatever one they've picked. Say they picked the second one in the list, that will be index 1, because remember it's 0 then 1. So that would return Mini Cooper, and we're also going to look at price as well at the same index, index 1. So 0, 1, so it would return the price 18. Now where are these bits of data going to go? Well, we don't want to store them locally. These are the ones we want to put in our central store. Remember in the design, we've got a central store where we need to share data. So let's hop over and look at the central store. We've already seen this in the design video. So it's got these 5 bits of data in it. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to basically put the car type into here and the cost into here. How do we access this separate container? Remember, this is a separate container from the class container. We can see that from our design. Let me just see if I can open that again if it's about. Yeah, here it is. So we want to take the values we're grabbing here and we want to pop them into here. So obviously the car type we're putting it in here, this is a completely separate container. So to access this separate container, we can't just say put car type into car type. We have to tell it to go to that container first, and then once inside that container, what variable it is we want to populate. So you'll see if you look at the codes, we go back to the main window, you'll see that's exactly what we do. So we say go to the container first, then we want you to update that variable in the container, and we're going to give it whatever value we've pulled out of the car names index. So going back to my example, if the index was 1, it would pull the value Mini Cooper out. So Mini Cooper string would get pulled out of there, and it would get popped into the higher details car type string. And then the same for the car price. So the car price at index 1, 18, would get pulled out of there, and it would be popped into the higher details cost. So then effectively by the end of this page, that's now going to be populated, and so is that. Okay, quick reminder before we finish talking about this. These variables, normally to declare a variable, you'd have data type and the name of the variable. We've got these extra 2 keywords. We talked about these, just a reminder. Public basically means that it allows you or any class to have access to that container. Containers effectively have got a lid which is shut. We need to open the lid. Public opens the lid to allow other classes to access the data. Problem is, when that happens, normal behaviour is it would access the data and take a copy back. We don't want it to take a copy. We want it to actually change the original inside that container. So Public lifts the lid, static means don't take a copy, actually share the original data. Right, let's go back to main window and finish that one off. So that's the event handler for what happens when they click on an item. The other event handler talked about, other interaction in this page is the continue button. So this is what happens when they click on the continue button. First of all, we do not want them to navigate if they have not picked a car. That's really important. So first thing we do is we check the index. Remember up here, we stored the index of what they selected. We initialised it at the start to -1. So if they haven't picked anything, it will still be set to -1. So we check. We say if the index is less than 0, then basically they haven't selected anything. So we tell them you've got to select a car, and then we finish. We don't do anything else, so they don't move forward. Otherwise, so if they have picked something, we just go ahead and we navigate. We've talked about navigation lots. Remember, there's 3 steps. We first of all need to create a new window that we want to navigate to. So our next window, if we look at the design, we can click on it here. The next window is the input to window. So we want to actually create an input to window. So that's what we're doing here, saying create a new input to window. Remember though, that's created in memory and it sticks this label on it. So we've now got a window in memory with this label input to on it, so we can find it again. Once we've created it, we then go and find it in memory and we say, right, bring it out of memory and actually show it to the user. So that will now be displayed on the screen. And then finally, we close the original window. So in this case, it's the main window will now be closed and we'll have fully navigated. Okay, so that covers the main window class. I'm going to end this video now, and the next video will cover the input to window and the class code for that.